Hey guys, so we're gonna do some readings. So I just one of my latest reads that I did a little over a month ago is in here. If you guys watch it, and by the way, subscribe because I think YouTube doesn't always like to show my videos because I've had some controversial ones. Okay, so subscribe, hit the bell so you get notifications. But my reading that I did on Trump, I let you guys know he was going to impose tariffs, and I said he's going to crash the stock market. It was real easy to tell. The very first card was Seven of Swords, which can be just ultimate betrayal, which I don't know how it's a complete betrayal when he said he's going to do it, but people may feel betrayed, you know. And then, of course, the next card, the crossing card, which is the opposition of all that, was the tower. So I said, it's going to crash. Okay. And now we're in a very volatile time. A lot of people are losing on their 401ks. Mine is down 14%. I haven't looked at it today. It may go down more. I've seen other people are losing, like if they had millions, they're losing millions. If they had, like, some guy I saw on Facebook posted his, at the beginning of the year, his 401k was 122,000, and just within a few days, thanks to Trump, it went down to 79,000. And he was like, so I mean, the damage is being done, and it's not done yet. I probably tomorrow is going to be a big one because he's supposed to impose a retaliatory, another one, tariff on China because they wouldn't pull back theirs. They're playing to win here, and they're not backing down. And this is madness. Now I know a lot of you want to know why he's doing it. Like, what's his end game? What is the big thing here? One of the things we got to remember, I do have a post in here, going over some scriptures that he kind of fills the bill of the Antichrist. We know he at least is a Antichrist, but a lot of people wonder if he is the. Okay, the might be harder to answer because you never know, someone worse could come along, believe it or not. Okay, but there's a lot of things he fills the bill. If anything, he's checking all the boxes. Okay, the man of lawlessness and all that. So if he is, then we know he would take power over the world if that. And it does seem like he wants world domination. We know America is, well, it was, but most powerful country in the world. But what he's doing with these tariffs, and which is, nobody's ever done this before like this, is imposing tariffs on almost everybody but Russia. Okay, he left them off. Okay, but he's imposing them on everybody else, and he's tanking the places and stuff. And like Hong Kong is down 13%. There's all kind, people are being impacted. And a lot of people apparently behind the scenes are begging him to stop. Even Elon Musk is talking to him. He thinks there should be no tariffs on Europe. He's apparently trying to reason with him, and you can't reason with him. This is where the bromance may come to an end. It's possible. And we're going to go ahead and look at that. Is the bromance going to come to an end? Because I was waiting for them to butt heads eventually. And that would be good. I mean, if Elon could turn and suddenly get a conscience, I don't expect Trump to, but could he get a conscience? We're going to look at it. We're going to see if that is humanly possible. But a lot of you want to know why. Well, there's several things we could look at, some theories. One of the things is if he crashes everything and everybody's 401k is wiped out or close to it or whatever, and then all the oligarchs can go in and buy, stock at dirt cheap and basically own everything. There's that and stuff. But also, doing all this to other countries, I mean, he's pretty much got everybody to bend the knee. He's got the entire GOP to do it. They're just letting him get away with it. He's, got media people to actually pay him money in lawsuits. He's got universities to bend the knee and give him money. Okay, so if he could get world leaders, so there's a big ego trip here to bend the knee, like actual presidents of other countries. and come groveling at his feet and making deals, anything that puts money really in his pocket, not in the American economy, but in his pocket, because he's got immunity. So if he's taking bribes, okay, yeah, you want to tear it off? Pay me a lot of money. Okay, there he could end up wealthier than Elon Musk if he wants to. Okay, it's very highly possible. Don't think that's not possible if he's bribing other countries. So there's a whole lot for him to gain. Everybody loses but him and maybe some of his rich friends. There's a lot there. So we're going to look at it. So a couple things here. We're going to kind of look at, but there's another big one that we need to look at. 420. This is when certain things that he started on January 20th to see about imposing the Insurrection Act, where he could declare martial law, say a state of emergency, which he's already kind of done that. Okay, saying, oh, because of immigration, all this, we have a state of emergency and everything. So he already kind of began that, but it's 420 is when certain things can fall into place where he can declare martial law, the Insurrection Act. So if that happens, that's what we're going to look at. Now, if I don't know if you guys have noticed, but there's been announcements all over the country, another protest on 419. They're most likely doing that on purpose because 420, if he declares martial law, we can't protest. The Constitution is suspended. Okay? So it ends up becoming a mess and everything. And then what are people going to do? We're going to kind of look at that. Is that going to happen? And one of the good things about tarot, we got military type cards in it and stuff. So we're going to look at that. But let's first kind of look at how is this relationship going with Trump and Elon right now? I think it's a little volatile because Elon's losing money. He did it to himself. Okay, he did it to himself. We're going to kind of look at that and see, could they completely, disband this? Could Elon maybe could he turn over a new leaf here? It would be very interesting. Let's go ahead and see how the bromance is doing first. And then we're going to look at, we already know about the tariffs. You can watch my reading on it. I told you he's going to crash, he's going to crash the economy. We'll see about any other things that Spirit says. But let's see how that relationship's going here. What do we got? So we got the world card popping up in here. And one of the things is Trump is definitely affecting the entire planet, okay, the whole world, okay, at the moment with his tariffs. Okay, so this is globally. And Elon is kind of positioned in different places in the world, Europe, China, and all that stuff. Obviously America and everything. And so how's he feeling? Let's kind of go and see. We got to figure out. And so we got the Four Cups energy. Now, Four Cups energy, if you know this from the tarot, it shows the guy that is ignoring the cup being offered, and he's kind of pouting and he's kind of focusing on certain things. He can be very stubborn. He can be very externalized. I've seen that card for Trump before. So far as Elon is trying, I think he's trying to do a gentler approach with him. He's trying to reason with him. Maybe make him some deals and stuff like that. And Trump ain't having it. He ain't listening. He's doing it his way. Let's see what's in the hidden area. What's going on? When I see the pleasure card popping up in here, I think Trump is enjoying this. He enjoys the chaos. And he also enjoys the attention. He also enjoys crippling these economies because he's waiting for his payoff and everything. But I've got the pleasure card for it. By the way, that's Sun and Scorpio energy, just so you know. And let's see there. And then, yes, interference. So we've got this energy here. And to me, when I'm kind of looking at it, which can be that person that's trapped in mind, kind of stuck, but there's kind of an attachment there, and that's why they don't walk away. That makes me feel Elon. I feel like he knows he hitched on a star that's going down in flames. And I feel in private, he realizes he made a mistake. He thought this was good, and in the beginning, he was having it all good. He's happy on his ketamine high, with a chainsaw dancing around, and he thought it was all going to be good. and it's turned on him. I mean, we've got countries turning on him. His stocks are going down. Obviously, things are happening at the dealerships that are crazy. And by the way, I don't think anybody should be vandalizing, but you know, when you make people mad, what's going to happen? But I feel he feels kind of stuck and trapped in this situation, and walking away ain't so easy. And so, what kind of deals did these guys make here? But this is in the hidden area. But I feel like he's trying to figure a way out of this for himself that saves his business. But I almost feel like he's like, you know, this whole politics shit. I'm a businessman. I like science. Okay. I thought this would be a good ride for me. And oh, fuck, what did I do? Okay. So I feel Elon's having regrets here and stuff. Up, we do have change coming. Okay, so we do have the change card popping up in here. So certain things are definitely changed. He's definitely getting a change of attitude with certain things that are going on. I don't know about having a conscious enough, okay, at the moment. I mean, he was like, yeah, I could take down my enemies. He could take down his enemies. It'll be a good ride and stuff. But he's getting taken down. You know, his stock is going down, and he sees Trump is making moves that are hurting him, that are impacting him personally and stuff. So certain things are changing. Like his brother spoke out. I don't know if you guys saw, his brother Kimball spoke out against the tariffs, but Elon has it completely directly. He spoke out against the Navarro guy, but not Trump directly. He's still trying to feel this out, because he knows if he turned on Trump, it could get very ugly and stuff. What does Trump have on him? You know what I'm saying? And stuff. And let's kind of go ahead and see. Yeah, I've got the happiness card here, and that makes me feel Trump. He's totally happy about the way everything is going and stuff. And let's kind of go ahead and see. Yeah, there's some secrets there. With the high priestess, which she could be, you know, talked about cloaked and secrets and things like that, you know, and it also can be things in private. So he's definitely, you know, he's got private discussions he's having with them, but he made a deal with the devil. We got the devil card there, you know, and stuff, and he's paying the price and everything. Let's kind of go ahead and see. With the Princess of Wands energy popping up in there, which can also be connected to Aries here, you know, there's definitely a lot of stuff is going on. Not only do we have, you know, we're in Aries now, but Neptune is slipping into Aries, and you know, so we've got these shifts into some of the generational planets. We've got a trade war going on. There's a lot of stuff going on. So get ready for that Neptune and Aries influence and stuff. But I've got that Fool card energy. You know, I feel like both of them. You know, sometimes the Fool is just being foolish. He leapt in. He's high on ketamine. You know, he's regretting. First, we're going to look at Elon. What's his cards? Oh, he's worried. Oh my God, is Elon worried? Okay, Five of Pentacles. He's worried about losing money. You know, he'll probably never go broke. Okay, you know, I can't really see that. But as far as, you know, there are still certain obligations. You know, if his stock goes down, that has a lot to do with his wealth. He's worried about his money, though. He's worried about his businesses and all that stuff and everything. And, you know, I look at the Queen of Pentacles energy, which can be about climbing up the mountain and everything. I feel like with that Capricorn energy, he's, you know, he's worked hard, well, sort of, to get to where he's at and everything. And, you know, he's kind of like not looking forward to having to start over and restructure everything is what it's coming down to. Let's look at Trump's cards. What do we get? And stuff. Yeah, a lot of things, this can point to the Pisces energy. You know, a lot of things, you know, in the Pisces month, the tariffs and everything, you know, it really been spooked. Oh, yeah. Trump is, you know, it's all about the money for himself. We got the wealth card here. So while this guy's worried about his income, this guy is growing in income, and he's looking at ways. This is a cash cow. These tariffs, having these leaders pay, and then he sold his stock right before he announced tariffs. By the way, if I haven't mentioned that and everything, so because he knew what was going to happen. But yeah, he's loving it because he knows he can get rich. Okay. And let's kind of go ahead and see. And the hopes and fears, you know, victory, that victory card has been coming up for Trump. He's getting his way. But ruin, yes, absolutely. And I think I might have ended that with tariffs. This is, I would say, with that ruin card, which is to be stabbed in the back. I would say that's Elon. Okay, he bought himself a president, but Trump is gonna stab. He's already stabbing him in the back. I think Elon's starting to learn that Trump doesn't care about him or his business or his desire to go to Mars, okay, or any of his stuff. He doesn't care. He doesn't care if he loses. And I have a feel that maybe some contract. I mean, he's got some contracts, but where he was promising him some things, he's gonna stab him in the back. He's gonna betray him just like he's done everybody else and everything. So the ruin card is coming for Elon. I'm not, like I said, I don't think he's gonna totally go broke, but he's ruined his reputation, completely as a businessman. He was already beginning it, like once he got Twitter and turned it into X, he was already ruining his reputation. But now there's just no coming back from the damage he's done to himself. He's looked at as a pariah on the planet. Everybody hates him. So, and everybody's rejecting his cars and hating those too. But he's somewhere in there, Trump's going to stab him real hard in the back. And I believe they're going to turn on each other. They're going to turn on each other because both are pretty powerful, in that and stuff. Who wins? Well, Trump's going to stab him in the back. Elon's going to hurt more than Trump. Let's put it that way. At least in the immediate future. Okay, now we're going to look at the big one. I'm going to get shuffling. Martial law. Is it going to happen on 420 or somewhere, once that's kicked off, shortly after? Either 420 or shortly after. Which is, a lot of people are dreading that. A lot of people are beginning to talk about it bit by bit. Everything is so loud, though, with the tariffs that not enough are talking about it, but the alarm is being sounded in areas. And when this happens, this may overshadow the tariffs. Okay? And I told you guys he's going to crash the stock market. Follow my videos. Okay. Crash it hard. Power. Okay. It's there. But we got to look at that. And of course, 420 is, whose birthday? It also happens to be Easter. And you spiritualists know to pay attention to days. It's kind of interesting. It falls on that day. Okay, here we go. Martial law, what's going to happen? We got the death card popping up in there. That's one door closes, another one opens. Change, transformation. And that's Pluto energy. Yeah, that's not a good sign. Okay, so one of the things, suspending the Constitution, we know that's what happens. Let's see what we've got there. Yeah, we got that magician energy. Now, the magician can be tricky because he can be all about the will and so forth. Mind over matter, will to power, invoking his will. Okay, so I've got that energy. That's definitely going to be like what Trump wants to do here. Let's kind of go and see. And yeah, there are certain things in the Pisces month that he already had going, plots and plans. I believe the reason why the Lovers is coming up is because Gemini. He is a Gemini, okay? We know that. And another thing, he was going to have that military parade on his birthday, okay? So I believe that's part of the reason that is popping up. Let's see what we got there. Whew. Looking at the walking away card, I would say there's definitely, if he declares martial law, a lot of people are going to walk away from him, except for the people that are just so diehard, voted for him 3 times, that no matter what he does, they're happy about. But people that are semi-rational, that maybe voted for him, and are like they're not liking certain things. Some people that are coming to their senses, definitely this would cause people to walk away. I think they're not liking this. This whole military parade ain't rubbing people any better. Okay, let's kind of go and see. And yeah, really looking at the crossroads, I would say America is at the crossroads right now, to be honest. You know, the direction, but the cruelty is the point. We've got the cruelty. And martial law, of course, would be cruel if we're going up, rounding up more immigrants and all that stuff. Let's see. And we've got the world kind of popping up in here. You know, definitely the world is watching us and everything with it. Let's kind of go ahead and see what we've got there. Now, that's very interesting because the Empress is popping up in here. And I do feel, I've been talking about it, that women are going to rise. There's going to be more and more women rising. I see that Empress. We got to bring love into the equation. Kindness, not cruelty. Notice she's across the cruelty there. Let's look at his position. Two of Swords, he's definitely thinking about it. I feel like he hasn't completely made up 100% his mind yet on the martial law thing, because Two of Swords could be making a choice. Let's kind of go ahead and see. But he would love the power. I've got the power card sitting next to it. The power to be able to do that, that's one thing. And stuff. Seeing these protests grow around the country, it could be one of the reasons and stuff. And then we've also got the adjustment card, which is justice, popping up in there. They're definitely, if he declares martial law, they're going to fight it in court and stuff. Considering I've got the Knight of Wands energy, which sometimes can be my military energy with the fire and stuff, it looks is probably coming, guys. Because also with justice here, they would fight it in court, of course. If he does, then everything would be like boom, boom, trying to stop it, of course, and everything. And then we've got the Ace of Discs energy popping up in there and stuff. I feel like there are those with big money that want him to do this and stuff. Looking at the Sun, let's kind of go ahead and see what we've got here. Sun and defeat. Interesting. I see the Sun card, and it makes me, feel like certain things coming to light, people becoming conscious, people becoming more aware. But I also got that defeat energy, which obviously that can be a battle, okay? And certain people taken down, and we got that real proud, arrogant person that's always in the Five of Swords, and other people walking away. So it could be like battles in the street and stuff. So, which I know some people are like, are we going to have a civil war? Are we going to have... I haven't gone that far yet, but for all intents and purposes, it could get very real and stuff. Looking at the Knight of Wands, which can be sometimes that military energy, it's also about action and fire next to justice and stuff. And I see them trying to hold back and everything. I feel that it's very possible that he will. Okay, especially ending with that defeat card, just, wanting to defeat protesters, defeat all that, defeat the light, is what he wants to try to do. But I feel also at the same time, you can't stop. The one good thing about the card, the Sun, you can't stop the Sun. Out of all the cards in the tarot deck, the Sun is the most powerful one, probably, because it's all about light, it's all about consciousness and everything. So I feel people will begin to wake up a little more and more. I feel, though, it's going to take, with people, it's going to be layers upon layers. Now, I've talked about the strong delusion. The strong delusion is talked about in 2 Thessalonians. That's one that God imposes a strong delusion because they wanted to believe a lie. They wanted to believe lies and all that stuff. So we went, whoop, there you go. So if you've ever tried to break through MAGA, and once in a while I may talk to them, and it's very ugly, and they're completely, cognitively broken. You all know that if you try to have conversations with them, especially if they're in your family. But the thing is, there is only one way out of the strong delusion. That's what first you need to understand. They're under the strong delusion. That's why when you try to, facts, reason, or even try to throw Jesus in there for those who claim they're Christian, but Jesus did this, but Jesus did that. I'll tell you guys, in churches, comments that I've seen around on some Christian channels, A lot of people are saying when I go to church, they're not talking about Jesus. They're not talking about Paul and things he said. They're doing the Pledge of Allegiance in churches. A lot of churches have completely lost their way and stuff. So, if you're thinking about going to like a Baptist church or, Protestant church or Presbyterian, especially evangelical, any of those and stuff, they're not even talking about Jesus in church, guys. Okay? And it's like, well, wait a minute, isn't the point about they're not even talking about Jesus? And so they're, those that have not lost their way will. And so, but unfortunately, I would say what maybe 85% aren't even hardly talking about Jesus right now. They've all gone like MAGA, political, and wacko. They've lost their way. The only way to get out of the strong delusion is when that person says, God, please show me the truth. And God will. God will flip the switch, but they've got to ask. And they've got to be sincere. They've got to really want the truth, not just what they want to believe and stuff. Because some people don't like to own up and face that they were wrong and everything. But if they say, God, please show me the truth, God will flip his switch. It's the only way out of the strong delusion. So if you've been trying to have conversations with MAGA, there's no point. It is a complete waste of time. It's the only thing you can do is just kick him to the other side of the wall. He built the wall, right? Walls between people. They're going to have to be on the other side of the wall. All right? I do hope this helps. We'll keep an eye out and just kind of see what happens.